The training grounds of the Crithian War Academy stretched across 3 kilometers of synthetic wilderness, designed to forge the galaxy's most feared predators into disciplined soldiers. Yet on this particular morning, the grounds lay silent and still. Captain Alara stood at the edge of the facility, her boots crunching against the rust-colored sand as she surveyed the situation. 12 young Crithians, cubs barely past their adolescent molt, sat in deliberate defiance beneath the shadow of a manufactured cliff face. Their obsidian scales gleamed in the double sun's light, and their golden eyes tracked her every movement with the instinctive wariness of apex predators. They refused to acknowledge any instructor, Commander Thex had told her during the briefing, his crest flattening in what Alara had learned was Crithian embarrassment. 3 trainers have already resigned. The cubs claim we have forgotten the old ways, that we train them like prey animals, cowering behind technology, learning tactics without spirit. Alara had studied the Crithian culture during her journey to their homeworld. Once they had been hunters who stalked the great beasts of their planet's equatorial jungles. Then came spaceflight, plasma weapons, and interstellar war. 3 generations later, their youth felt disconnected from the ancestral pride that had defined their species for millennia. She approached the cubs slowly, her hands visible and empty. No weapons, no armor, just the standard-issue fatigues of a human military instructor. The largest of the cubs rose to his feet. Vayan. The file had marked him as the ringleader, brilliant, fierce, and utterly intractable. Another soft skin comes to teach us how to cower in formations, Vayan hissed, his vocal cords producing the grating harmonics of the Crithian language. Go back to your prey world, human. Alara stopped 3 meters away, close enough to speak without shouting, far enough to respect the predator's space. I didn't come to teach you how to cower, she said in flawless Crithian. I came to hunt. The statement hung in the air. Several cubs tilted their heads, a gesture of confusion among their kind. Humans don't hunt, another cub called out. You farm your meat. You fear the wilderness, is that what you believe? Alara's voice remained calm. Let me tell you about Earth. My world has creatures that would make your ancestors proud. Creatures with claws that can shred steel, fangs that inject neurotoxins, predators that hunt in packs with coordination your military strategists study in academy. She took a step forward. And humans? We hunted them all. Not with plasma rifles. Not with orbital strikes. With spears. With arrows. With our minds and our endurance and our refusal to be prey. Vane's crest flared. Interest despite his resistance. Words are wind, human. Warriors prove themselves with action. Agreed, Alara said. She gestured toward the training grounds. Your instructors use simulation prey. Holographic targets, safe, predictable. She paused. Boring. Yes, Vayan growled, and several other cubs voiced their agreement. Tomorrow morning before the sun's rise, meet me at the northern perimeter. Come alone if you're brave. Bring your pack if you're wise. Alara turned her back on them, a calculated risk, and began walking away. I'll show you what it means to hunt with honor. Vayan came alone. He found Alara waiting in the pre-dawn darkness, armed only with a primitive compound bow and a quiver of arrows. The weapon looked absurdly inadequate compared to the plasma repeaters the cubs trained with. Where are the others? Alara asked, sleeping. They think you lie. Vayan's eyes narrowed. I think you're either brave or foolish. Both, probably. She handed him a second bow. Ever used one of these? Vayan examined the weapon with obvious skepticism. This kills nothing but time. Try it. For the next hour, as the sky gradually lightened, Alara taught Vayan the basics. How to nock an arrow. How to draw an anchor. How to breathe and release. The young Crithian's natural strength made the physical aspects easy, but precision required patience he clearly lacked. This is a toy, he finally snarled after his 10th miss. Is it? Alara pointed toward a rocky outcropping 200 meters distant. There's a razor wing nest up there. Synthetic creatures, but programmed with real behavioral patterns. Fast, aggressive, and smart enough to be dangerous. She demonstrated her own bow, sending an arrow through the gap between 2 rocks. In my grandfather's time, hunters on Earth would track prey for days, learn their patterns, understand their territory. Then when the moment came, one shot, one chance. Miss, and you go hungry. Fail and your family suffers, Vane's pupils dilated. This is how humans hunted? This is how we survived. We weren't the strongest. We weren't the fastest, But we were patient. We were smart. And we never ever gave up. Alara lowered her bow. Your instructors want to teach you tactics and formations. That's important. But honor? Honor comes from respecting the hunt, respecting your prey, understanding that every hunt has meaning beyond the kill. The razor wing burst from its nest in a blur of synthetic feathers and programmed fury. Vayan's instinct was to grab for the plasma pistol at his hip, but it wasn't there. Only the bow time seemed to slow. Ilara's words echoed in his mind. One shot. One chance. Vayan drew. Anchored. Breathed. Released. The arrow took the razor wing through the center mass. The creature tumbled from the sky. For a long moment, Vayan simply stared at his own hands. Then he looked at Alara with something that might have been respect. Teach me more. Within a week, all 12 cubs reported to the training grounds before dawn. They came to learn the old ways through new eyes. To understand that strength without discipline was merely violence, that power without honor was simply brutality. Ilara taught them to track, to wait, to understand their enemy before engaging. She taught them human endurance hunting, where patience and persistence triumphed over raw speed. She taught them that the deadliest weapon wasn't the most powerful, but the one wielded with purpose and skill. And Vayan, once the most defiant, became her fiercest student. He learned that honor wasn't about rejecting technology or living in the past. Honor was about carrying forward the best of what your ancestors taught, adapting it to new challenges, never forgetting why you fought in the first place. By the time Captain Alara completed her assignment and prepared to leave the Crythian homeworld, the cubs had not only passed their basic training, they had achieved the highest marks in the Academy's history. Commander Thex watched as the cubs performed a traditional hunt ceremony in Alara's honor, a ritual reserved for legendary warriors. How did you reach them when we could not? He asked quietly. Alara smiled. I didn't try to make them less Crythian. I showed them that humanity understood something your people once knew. That being a predator isn't about the kill. It's about the hunt, the challenge, the respect, she paused, and that honor isn't inherited. It's earned, one choice at a time. As her shuttle lifted away from the planet, Ilara looked down at the training grounds where 12 young warriors practiced with their bows. They would eventually wield plasma rifles and command starships, but they would do so with the wisdom of the ancient hunt burning in their hearts. And Vayan, standing at the forefront of his pack, drew his bow toward the sky in salute. A human gesture, performed with Crythian pride. The predator cubs had learned to hunt with honor, and the galaxy would never be the same.